Okay, so show week reflection. What is happening throughout this show week? So what's happening throughout the show week is that we're going to be doing our show. I mean, actually, we did our show. We did our show, Midsummer's. It was honestly just incredible. I mean, the lighting was brilliant, the acting was brilliant, the Midsummer's overall was just absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. Oh, sorry for cussing. Effing fantastic, honestly. I felt that, the acting was really good. So in the first scene when I was with Holly, the first scene I was involved in was actually the ensemble scene. I thought that went quite good. I thought the lighting was a bit dodgy, but that's fine. And I felt myself really crawling, being like a really child person, being a really, really childlike person. And then as well, afterwards, I found myself being very, very, very cheeky, which I really thoroughly did enjoy doing. I really enjoyed being cheeky. And then became my first actual scene, which was with Holly, which went pretty decently, the audience was laughing at some bits, but I did also find that I did make quite a lot of mistakes throughout everything, so... I made quite a lot of mistakes, though, because I remember in one of the scenes, I need to have, my hand out towards her, and I didn't do that in time. Well, I did do it, but it wasn't quite in time, which is a bit jarring, but it is what it is. And then my other scene with Holly, I was supposed to push her to the ground, and I effed that up. That didn't go too well, but that's fine. But things that went well, though, my voice was on point, but the comedic acting was also very, very in-depth. It was very strong, the audience were laughing, and yeah, it is Shakespeare, so maybe not everyone understands, but... it is what it is. It really is what it is. And then some of my ensemble scenes was when Oberon and Titania meet. I'm a fairy in that, and making sure you're crouched down the whole time, which is also one of the hardest things you can do. Honestly, being crouched down the whole time is so tough to do. I find it really tough to do because my legs are just burning, and I had to stay in character. So I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And it's about really just staying in character the whole gosh dang time. It was tough. It was really tough, especially as me and Tia did a bit of playing around and a bit of cheekiness, which was really funny, but also didn't spoil the scene, which is also really, 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 really good. But and then other scenes as well. And then in other scenes as well, what else we did was... I'm actually losing track, sorry, no. As well as being ensemble, let's talk about ensemble. So being a fairy, so it's also about being good in a traverse as well as being good at, being a fairy traverse. And I found myself, I was really strong at that. I made sure to walk like... I made sure to do that all the time, make the audience laugh a bit. Not really interact, but just kind of lean in with the audience, that was some of the funniest stuff ever. But yeah, anyway, after all of that... after all of that as well, I was making sure about... I'm losing my track. As well as being quite offset. I found myself being quite offset, quite tough, because I do have elephant feet. Okay, and back to my elephant theme, because I do actually have elephant feet, so it's also important about walking when you're backstage, walking backstage properly, and making sure you don't F it up at all, because sometimes I walk like... doesn't really work. So I need to make sure to do it with, the palms of your feet instead, and could be very gentle with it. Do it very, 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 very gently, and that worked out quite well. Things that went well though, overall. Actually, no, let's talk about the other scenes. Demetrius as well. Demetrius and Hermia, that scene was quite strong. I feel like it could have been more though, because it didn't really shock anyone. If it was a strong scene though, it really was a strong scene. Nothing really to say. Our voices were good. Our speech was good. People didn't really understand it, as it is Shakespeare, but hey, it is what it is. And then after that was when I go under the spell, and I wake up and I see Helena. And something I will say is that the tile floor of it was quite rough. So I did really, 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 really struggle with moving, especially with knee pads. So I kind of had to improvise a little bit and just go like, do a bit of different movement. But you know what, it works. So as long as it works, it works. I was still able to do my I was still able to do my proper movement, you know, the one, then straight into humping the ground, you know, that worked out really, really well for me still. And then my scenes with Kai, they were fantastic. Like the fight scene, that was fantastic. It was comedy gold. Like people were just laughing. Like I thought that was absolutely hilarious, honestly. But yeah. Other things to say. Final scene with the mechanicals. I feel like I could have been a lot stronger. I did miss out one line though. That's one thing I did. I did miss out one line, which ain't the best, but it is what it is. You know, we all did really well as a class overall. The performance was good. The audience was laughing. The lighting as well. Let's talk about the lighting. So another thing I did was Titania's lift. And in Titania's lift is when we all have to work together to work as a team to like lift Titania into the air. And that in itself was quite hard to do because we weren't communicating at the time. But when we did it in the actual thing, it was actually a lot better. We were communicating well. We were doing all sorts well, and we were just doing a lot of things well, which really, really, really were. And actually when we were lifting up Summer, we were actually really communicating well, making sure Summer was safe and well. And then, where was I? I had to pause. Sorry, where was I? Oh yeah, lifting to Titania. We were in lifting to Titania, we were communicating well, the drop was good, no one got hurt, and we all got good, and it looked really sick. The lighting, let me talk about the lighting. So our set was, it was a thrust, so audience on 3 sides, and there was a bulb in the middle with chairs, and that was to represent a new world, it was to represent the dream world, and people really, really liked it, because the new lighting, the new sorts of lighting, there was like red for Titania's lift, which demonstrated fury and rage. There was green for like the rest of the fairies to demonstrate friendliness and pure passion. For the lovers, it was more purple to represent love in more of a drastic way, and for the mechanicals it was more blue to represent harmony, because the mechanicals were more normal, I would say, because they were lower class, which is what everyone in the Shakespearean era would actually have related to. But overall the show went really, really well. Things that went well for me, I did really well. My voice was on pitch, my speech was on pitch and everything. And then things to improve on, I would say, would be I messed up my lift. One of the things I did, I messed up my lift with Megan, because I do lift her on my shoulders. I messed that up, I did. I could have maybe been a bit more with Holly, like I could have pushed her or something towards the end, so yeah. But yeah, that's it. Show week reflection. Week